Hello and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 259 at scavengerlife.com.
Okay, so something that I just need to say for ourselves. It seems like we've developed a bit of a cycle.
Yes.
A life cycle.
Right.
If we were like life gurus, that would be our thing. Life cycle. Okay.
It is a life cycle.
And it seems like what it is we have these jobs we go to in the spring and the fall.
Right.
So we work for 3 to 6 months on eBay full time.
Right.
Then we travel for a month or two, and then we come back and start it over. And So we just came back, and now we have about 3.5 months 4 months before we take another month or two trip.
Yeah.
And I like it.
No, it's cool. I think this is one of the first times we've realized that this is just how it is, as long as these jobs last.
Right.
That this is just how it goes. It's,
well,
I
mean, we were talking, even if we weren't being paid to travel, I like traveling.
Yeah.
I mean, really, this is the way I always kind of wanted my life. Like when I was younger, in my 20s, I would do these things where I would get these jobs. I'd work them for 6 months, save up a bunch of money, and then I'd quit it because I hated it. And then I'd go somewhere for as long as my money could handle being gone, and then I'd have to go and work again.
Right.
So this is kind of like the dream I always wanted to have.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's a good thing. I mean, that's why eBay selling online works for us, because it's flexible enough to, handle.
Absolutely. Right. It's not like a brick and mortar store where you're I'm gone for a month, you know.
And, Wendy, who we did the podcast with when we first started, I mean, she always talked about that, about the ability of just being able to follow your interests,
Right.
Things keep selling on eBay, but then you can try and do this and you can try and do that. And, that's nice.
Yeah, I agree.
So I hope people are filling their lives with
interesting things.
Things.
Right.
Well, what's your life cycle?
What's your life cycle? Life. Oh my God. You just started a new
TM.
Trademarked.
So the first thing we do when we come back is we have a lot of mail, and we open up all the mail.
A lot, an entire room. It was the mail room.
And half of it's just junk mail, but and then we have bills.
Right.
And mainly for us, because in our state we pay it's property taxes and personal taxes.
Personal property basically on your cars.
And they charge you every 6 months. So it's the 6 month, but it was great though. It felt so good that we could just go down to the courthouse and just pay it.
Yeah.
We had the money.
Yep.
It feels really nice, And I'm so glad we don't have any consumer debt, and that, we can find work in what we do, and we can travel, and that, when we don't have any of that, we can make enough on eBay. It's nice.
Yep. It's amazing. It was really nice to come home and be able to do that.
Now, when we were in New Orleans, we actually met a couple of scavengers who had contacted us.
Yes.
Their names are Edgar and Adriana.
Yeah.
And actually, her husband was at the same conference that we were,
which is so
working
funny.
at.
What a small world!
So he does that kind of work, but they're also scavengers. It's cool. We met them. We would actually grab some free food from the conference.
We had lunch
and sat on
Scavenger
the floor.
lunch.
Yeah, sat on the floor of the convention hall.
Yeah,
and just kind of talked, and it was so great. I mean, it's so interesting for us to hear when people are seriously talking kind of to each other about how to go full time, how to run their life. I mean, they had an interesting story in the sense they had kids when they were really young. They had 2 kids.
And the great thing is their kids one was in college, one was going to college, and they're now we have all this time to do stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing.
So cool.
They're still really young too, and they're at that point where they're well, we can do anything we want.
Yeah.
And and it's interesting too to see it from the outside, because they're kind of nervous and afraid of changing things up, and what will it be like, and we already have these steady jobs, should we just quit them? And I'm looking at it you guys had kids when you were young, you raised them, they're probably great kids, they sound like it. If you can do that,
then you
can do anything.
Figure out eBay.
And it really is just that thing of just bet on yourself.
Right.
That's the big thing.
Right.
Instead of putting all that work into someone else's business, put it into your own business,
Yep.
you know?
Yep. It is exciting to talk to people about that kind of stuff because that's what makes us excited when, like, anytime we have a friend who's, like, got a full-time job but kind of has, like, a freelance thing going on and they're like, I'm thinking about quit my job. We're like, oh, don't even talk to us about that because that's all we want to talk about.
Right.
It's all we want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally cool. I like the people that are like, I love my job, or it's a really good job. You know, I would never give it up because I get paid too much. You know, I just do eBay on, you know, just as a side thing. I think that's cool. But yeah, I think that's one reason why we do this podcast is because it's like, it's exciting for us to hear when people just go full force into it. You know,
they do it and can make it work, and they know they can make it work.
And you know, we see those people pop up in the comments of our blog where they're just like, you know, I'm starting this, I'm not making enough money. You know, I made enough money in December, but now I'm not making enough money. And it reminds me what we always talk about of having like a 12-month business.
Right.
You know, like I think there's sometimes people, they start off around the fourth quarter, holiday time, like November, December, when things are just, when
crazy.
people are just buying.
Yeah.
And then they base their income on that amount.
Right.
And then when it hits like this time of year, when things are slower, then they're just like, I can't pay my bills. I'm going to have to get a job again. And that's a thing that we tried to do was like, how can we get our budget down to where we'll be okay on the slowest month of the year?
Basically, you want your bills to be so low that in the summer you're covering your bills plus some.
Right.
And then it's extra when it gets to be like the crazy times.
Right. And, you know, if people are like, well, my bills are just, I can't get them that low, then you just need to make more money. I mean, I don't know how to do it, but that's kind of like it's puzzle that we're all kind of, it's faced with.
Yeah.
You know? And we do this where when, you know, we're making a lot of money in it's Christmas time area, we try and save some of that so we have it's buffer when there are slow months. Okay, so how many items did we sell when we were gone?
Well, when I counted, when I had to start packing, it was 110 stuff that I had to pack while we were away. And then stuff was selling as I was packing, so I was kind of like grabbing that stuff at the same time. But I believe it was 110 items. And only one buyer requested a cancellation because they didn't want to wait for the item. It was a candle.
and I think we were gone for about 4 weeks. Yeah,
it was 4 weeks.
Less than 4 weeks.
It was like 28 days or something.
So that's pretty good. You know?
I mean, 110 items, right. That's great.
And, you know, again, we got like a comment on YouTube where someone had been like, you know, how is that even possible? Like, don't people want their stuff the next day? And there is that. It is true. People love like next day Amazon,
sure.
Same day shipping. Like that's now a thing. But at the same time, it's kind of an assumption that isn't always true.
Right.
You know?
Right. I mean, and the other thing is like, okay, so on Amazon, most of the stuff that you're buying is new.
Like diapers.
Yeah, it's like household stuff or stuff that you need for a thing that you're doing. But on eBay, the stuff that people are buying from us
right.
is weird, quirky, and a lot of times, even if it is like clothing or something, like a hat, we sold a ton of hats. Like, I was like, I can't believe I have to go pull all these hats. Not one person was like, I can't wait for this hat.
Normally, it's like 1 in 10 people want their money back. When
it's like 10%.
So in this case, it would have been 10 or 11 people. So actually, this was like the best we've ever had it.
I couldn't believe it.
And again, not most. There were a number of people that would write us and be like, okay, thanks. Have a good trip.
Now, I will say this, that there were some people that like halfway through would say, hey, I haven't got my thing yet. And then I have a piece of text that I copy into the message, like, on such and such a date, we wrote to you and told you that our handling time is such and such, and we'll be back on this date. And then they're like, oh, okay, I didn't see that, or whatever. And they're fine.
And keep this in mind, because we'll talk about this in a bit. What protects us and what would protect you is you have to change the handling time. It's not enough to have that vacation banner, Because if the vacation banner up top says, I'm going to be gone for 3 weeks,
right,
but then your handling time is still a next day,
right,
then you're screwed.
Yeah,
if they
eBay
complain.
will not back you up if you get a negative feedback.
And I'm not sure why eBay hasn't connected the vacation banner to the...
Would it make sense? Or like in the vacation settings, you should be able to be like, change your handling time to X days.
Right.
I don't know why those aren't linked. That's crazy.
So the handling time is key. Anyway, so it's great. And Ryan had a whole pile of stuff.
Oh my God. You know, it was 2 straight days. Usually it's longer than that, but most items were super easy to ship.
Well, that seems to be your thing is, number one is you wake up really early.
Yeah.
Because
like
I think it's
5 a.m. basically.
I can see it. The first thought in your head is, I gotta ship.
pack.
And so you wake up, you go over there, and you do the easy stuff first.
Well,
right?
now I'll say this. I do the easy stuff first in chronological order of when it was sold, because the people who've been waiting a long time,
like a month,
you're like, I want that to get out right now. And my post office carrier comes between noon and 2. So if I'm up at 5 a.m. and I work till 1, the first day I did it, I think it was Monday morning. I woke up, at like 5, 6 a.m. and I worked till 1. I took a break for breakfast, and I packed 50 things. And I videotaped all of them, too. So that was enough time to just, like, methodically,
it's all that polymailers.
Polymailers, but there's a lot of, like, just priority boxes. Like, they're ready to go, and you just...
And then the thing that really kind of starts jamming things up are the, like, when you have all the complicated...
The painting. The 22-inch round clock with a glass face. I'm like, oh, that was literally the last thing I packed. I was like, that's just gotta wait. But I did have a box for it.
And our postal person knows that she's like an older lady, and she pulls up in her SUV car, Jeep. And she knows as soon as we come back, there's going to be a pile of stuff. She knew.
She's like, oh, you're back.
and we always go out there and help her carry all these bags of stuff.
I try to get either Jay, or if I'm in the house, to help her, because there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I have those IKEA bags. There's like 5 or 6 of those completely filled.
And she's actually been asking lately, like, what do you guys sell, And we just say we sell anything.
I mean, I just had to be like, I sell clothes, I sell books, I sell whatever, anything I can find. And she's just like, I don't think she can wrap her head around it.
Yep. Now, the other thing is, when we were in another state, we got the notification, like a lot of people did, that eBay got the tape back.
Yeah,
and you bought some. Yeah,
so actually it was funny. I got the notification while we were eating lunch with the 2 other scavengers, Edgar and Rihanna. And I actually waited till the end of lunch, but right in the middle of lunch, I wanted to be like, I gotta go use my coupon. Hold on a second. But I was able to, a half hour later, I was able to jump on the computer, buy we have a $75 voucher.
Because we have an anchor store,
so we have the highest voucher. And so I just typed in like $75 worth. I didn't even know. I was like, quantity 5. And then I looked at it and I was like, that's 40 rolls of tape.
So it came out to like $79.
Yeah, I had to pay like $4.
Because the way these vouchers its coupon works is it's one time only.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't hold over, so if we only spent $30,
the coupon's over.
Lose, so it's best to buy a little bit more.
Right.
So you get the whole thing out of it. And we got 40 rolls of tape.
Man, when I like calculated that, I was like, oh, that's definitely going to last me a long time.
And does it seem like good, strong?
Yeah. Now, there was... there were some people on the blog, it was Mike from Atlanta, was saying that it wasn't as thick as the stuff that I buy, which is Duck brand from Walmart. That's the cheapest tape for the amount that you get that I've ever found, either on Amazon or Uline. It's the cheapest. And it's just a little bit thinner than that. But I've used that eBay tape before because someone gave me a roll once a long time ago. And it works great. Like, it's totally fine. I mean, if you're doing a big, heavy box, you might want to, like, bulk up on it. But it's free.
Yep.
40 rolls of free tape. That's
Now,
amazing.
I was asking you, so did you use 2 rolls of tape a month?
A month.
Is that right? Or 3?
Look, it really depends on if I'm doing Amazon FBA, you're using tape like crazy because you're taping up all these big ass boxes of books and stuff. So, on eBay, I would say max 2 if I'm really like.
Wow. So, I mean, 40 rolls of tape is like a year and a half of tape. So, we're going to get a voucher every quarter.
Every quarter.
So, it's 4 vouchers every year. So, it's like 1 quarter pays for a year and a half of tape. So, next quarter, I guess we'll just stack up on poly mailers. I mean,
now, on our other store, so we get 2 coupons because we have 2 stores. Our other store, we got a $50 coupon, and I bought poly mailers and some of the smaller boxes. I think they're 4x4x6, which is great. This is like shipping nerd corner happening right now, which is great because first class goes up to basically on eBay labels £1. You can type in £1. You could do first class. And if you have those 4x4x6 boxes, you could ship lots of stuff in there for first class.
Things like what?
Oh, like
a necklace.
A necklace. I mean, they're big.
Socks.
Yeah, socks. Like certain clothing items if you wanted to protect them and not put them in a poly mailer. A hat.
Right.
If you wanted to protect a hat and not put it in a poly mailer. Small, like, household items, like if I had some salt and pepper shakers and you wrap those up, that's perfect for little things like that are light enough that you don't want to have to do priority.
And are the eBay poly mailers strong? Or
they seem quite thick. I haven't used them yet because I have a bunch of other poly mailers that I was using.
But it's almost like if they continue this, we might not ever be able to have to buy poly mailers.
Well, I do buy custom sizes, so I don't know how big. I have to see how, because I think the biggest one I have is like 19 by 24, which I use for backpacks and like, big jackets and stuff like that. So
we have to see if eBay. So if anyone from eBay ever hears this, we have no idea if they do.
Yeah.
We think this is great, and we want
it's amazing.
More different kinds of shipping stuff because we'll buy it.
Also though, what I would suggest, and nobody's ever going to hear this, but those eBay boxes, the word eBay is printed on the side, but you can barely see it. It's not like on Amazon. Like when you get an Amazon box,
everyone knows
it's an Amazon. I mean, basically because the tape has like Amazon Prime like all over it. But I feel like with the eBay boxes, it looks very elegant and nice, but you're like, you want people to be like, it's eBay. Like, it's on every side. It's like, you know what I mean?
Well, I noticed it's this week that you had shipped an item in an Amazon box. Yeah. Because we do
have
that.
The Amazon box.
We buy stuff from Amazon. We ship eBay stuff in Amazon boxes. But it had eBay tape on it. And it looks just so weird.
It's like
eBay, Amazon.
Where am I buying this
from?
Yeah, it's funny.
And then just the last thing on eBay, I want to thank people who had answered me on the blog, when we're scanning for books for FBA.
Yeah.
You're scanning barcodes like a monkey. Yeah. And then, you'll come to that book that doesn't have, it's too old to have a barcode. Right. It just has the ISBN. Right. And, and what I would do is I would kind of make a small stack of it, and then I would go through and I would have to type in the its number or type in the title of the book.
Oh, it's such a pain, yeah.
And those are often the books that are worth the most because I was trying to find the ones that it look like they're small printings.
And they're older, they're vintage, yeah.
But someone told me about a Flow app. It's an Amazon Flow app, and I'd heard about it, but it's cool. It's an app, and you just scan the top of the book, and as long as it has the cover on it, it knows it.
It's amazing.
Now, this app was built for consumers, so I guess when you're at a store, you can scan something, and then it tells you how much it's cost. I'm sure it's like the bane of any brick and mortar store. Yeah. So what it does is, it shows you the book, and then it has a link, and then it opens it up in another Amazon app.
In the shopping app.
To buy it.
Not like your seller app.
And it stinks because it doesn't give it the seller app where it tells you, the ranking and all that stuff. But at least it gives you enough of an idea of
Well,
this is not a 1 penny book. This is a $20
you can
book.
see how much it sells for on Prime and stuff. But what you could do is you could copy and paste the Amazon, what is it called, the ASIN number, and then bring it into the seller app.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But, the whole point is, because I did it this past week, I'm in front of all these books, and I don't need to spend 10 minutes per book. I just want something is it probably worth something?
Yeah.
And, these books are so cheap where as long as there's a chance, I put it in a bag. Yeah, so period. So thanks for people that did that. It's Retro WV Treasures.
Yep.
He says what he does is he just does, Amazon has it like eBay where you can talk into it.
Right.
And he says he whispers the ISBN
Well,
number.
he'll hold it up to his ear like he's making a phone call, so it looks like he's on the phone. And then he'll say the numbers quietly, which is smart because typing in the ISBN numbers can be a real pain.
I would just it's wondering the people that are hardcore FBA people who do books and they have the Nito scan on a PDA and they're scanning. What do they do? Because when you're in front of a big box of books, there could be a quarter to a half of those books could be older,
Right.
So I just wonder what they do with those older books.
I wonder if they skip over them. I don't know.
Okay, let's talk about Amazon FBA.
Yeah.
So our, continuing experiment. Number one is we're making cash.
We're making money.
We're
making a profit.
It's money, so it's not bad. I still am unsure of how anyone can make a living, a full-time living off of FBA, unless you just, again, did wholesale and you're using credit cards to buy thousands of items, or go the other way where if you have to hire help and it's like a little warehouse space and you're just getting just gigantic bins of books and just doing it that way.
Yeah.
But it's one or the other, but just doing it like eBay where it's just me and you getting stuff, the profit just isn't quite there. It's a nice little side amount of cash. And I guess we've still been struggling with returns. And we had a great week of sales a couple of weeks ago.
Amazing sales.
I think we sold $1,000 worth of stuff or something. But then it was following by the next week where we had a depressing week of returns where we had 4 things returned. And some of them were pretty high dollar
items.
Like these tub spouts that we had found cheap.
There were we sold them for $150 and we got them returned. And one of them, the problem with Amazon that drives me crazy about returns is it'll say carrier damaged, and if you don't report that and make a case out of it, they don't refund you. You're the carrier damaged.
Yeah, it's interesting. People that complain about eBay's its return policy. I get it, but man, eBay is awesome compared to the way
Amazon?
eBay, because Amazon just automatically pulls the money out of your account, and then it's not very transparent. You can't really tell what's happening. One of them you argued against, why did they return this?
Right.
And for some reason, they just gave us our money back.
They didn't explain it.
And so it's unclear. Did they take the money from the buyer because it wasn't a good return? Did they give the buyer their money, us our money, and Amazon ate it? They didn't...
It's just so it's who paid for this?
Right. So now there were a couple things. We had some stuff shipped back to us again because we're trying to tell why are people
is it
returning
broken?
this? There are some things that still our fault where we're getting stuff that we think is new in box, but really it's been opened, and there was a trailer hitch thing that didn't have the screws in it. Yeah. You had the main component, but it didn't have the screws, and so someone sent it back because it's not new. That's, again, our fault.
Yeah, that's us not realizing it's missing something.
But, a lot of the stuff it looks like someone just decided they didn't want it. And, they send it back, and then it just stinks.
And the thing about Amazon, and if you've shopped on Amazon and returned things, if you say it's defective or not as described or missing pieces, You don't have to pay for shipping.
Right.
Amazon gives you a full refund. They give you a label.
And, we get the stuff sent back to us.
And we're like, what's wrong with it?
How do we, there's nothing you can do.
And you're like, oh, they just didn't want to pay for shipping.
And so we probably lost, on an item, you lost, $6 or $8 to have it shipped both ways. So
yeah,
it's just how it is. And I know people, it is just the cost of doing business. We've never had that happen to us yet, where someone like buys something, takes a new one, puts in their old one, and mails it back.
We haven't seen that.
I don't know how common that is, but we've never experienced that.
Yeah.
But I think we're a learning, and
yeah,
it's still fun for us. Like when we were in Bend, Oregon, we sent in a huge box.
Yep.
To Amazon, and
of books, and
that was fun.
Yeah, and I was able to weigh it, measure it, print out a label, all that stuff.
So before we do the numbers, I had one fun scavenging story.
This is like the most random
This
thing.
actually happened before we had gone out of town.
Yeah, it was like a month ago.
We were, I stopped by our local
7-Eleven. You're like grabbing a coffee or something.
And it's like, 9 o'clock at night, and I go in there and I look, it just caught my eye. It said clearance. So I go over to the clearance where like they have the sandwiches, and it's all these trays of cheese.
Yeah.
Because I guess it was before we left, it was like the end of March.
So it was like, I think they were there for Valentine's Day.
It was for Valentine's Day. It was kind of like an upscale thing they tried to do, where it was like a little cheese board.
Right.
With like a big chunk of cheese and a big thing of like meat.
It's like salami, like dried, fancy salami. And at 7-Eleven.
They were $1 each, and there were, I don't know how many there were 15 of them. And I went over and I asked, is that how much they are?
They're really $1?
I'd grab them all.
Well, the cool thing is, okay, number one, there was fancy cheese. It was Jarlsberg cheese, which is one of my favorite cheeses ever. It's delicious. And then there was like a bunch of like smoked cheese and like just different cheeses and like fancy salami.
And actually, and so I guess it was their way of trying to be like, you're going in to get a coffee before work, and it's Valentine's Day, and you're like, well, let me get this for my girlfriend, and we'll go in the park and like eat some cheese. I guess that was their thinking.
I don't know.
And no one bought into it, so it was great. I mean, you guys know cheese and a little thing of like,
salami.
Ham,
that's expensive.
It's expensive.
Well, and the great thing is we just throw that stuff in our freezer.
Right.
I mean, the salami stays good forever. It's sealed. You don't have to freeze it. So you throw the cheese in the freezer. The funny thing is, all those cheese boards were high-end, like bamboo.
Right. Like little small ones. So I actually bundled them up and took pictures of them.
And we're going to sell them.
So, we normally just scavenge at the places we all talk about. Flea markets, blah, blah, blah. This is one of the first times I've ever,
scavenged at 7-Eleven.
It was great.
That was such a fun... We're still eating that cheese.
Yummy, smoky.
It was really good, yeah.
Okay, so let's do our numbers for this week. So,
okay, what's up?
It's been kind of slow for us.
Yeah,
and a lot of it could be because our handling time for most of the week it was still extended.
Yeah, and I changed it back.
I don't know. It's just kind of slow in general. But on our main store, we made a bit over $800.
Okay, that's good.
And again, it's for us. As long as we're making $100 a day. Just overall, that's what we need to make to keep the wolves off our doorstep.
Right,
$100 a day. So just with the main store, we already made that.
Yep.
Amazon FBA. I mean, it's this thing where we made our total sales were like $320, but after all the fees and everything, we made
it's about half,
$175.
Yeah.
And then on Bonanza, we sold. We actually sold 2 items because we sold one last night.
Yep.
So it was about $150 for those 2 items.
Yep.
So that's not bad. And then on our second eBay store, it was really slow. Normally, we're making like $400 or $500 a week, and we made $180.
And I actually listed stuff on that store this week. Finally, I got back to listing.
So it is interesting, comparing now to like 2 years ago when we just had one eBay store. We've have been branching out into all these other little things, and it's nice. All the it's money kind of comes in through a pipeline. I have a little bag. The cash falls in, and
I never see that
it's
cash.
all there.
It's in your
Yeah.
your pot of gold over there.
So this week we sold, and you'll see in its video, a lot of just, I love it. Not a whole lot of high dollar things, just a lot of little weird things I never thought we would sell, and I'm just glad they're gone, and I'll probably never sell them again.
I don't know, some of these things.
A lot of weird stuff.
Okay, so this backpack frame, this is weird because this thing, it's not a backpack, but it's like this handmade exterior wooden frame and canvas thing to like mount a hiking backpack.
We just went to, it's like a little weird thrift store, and it looked like someone had cleaned out their house, and Grandpa back in the 70s hand built a wooden frame with a canvas cover, and it looks like it doesn't actually hold anything. It's just where you could tie something to it. And then, maybe you would tie, I don't know.
I have no idea.
Anyway, I bought it for $1 and it sold for $125. So
I put it up high because I just thought this thing's handmade. The canvas is sewn on someone's sewing machine.
Right.
I mean, that was just, I didn't know what it was.
But you know what? That took a year and a half to sell. So it's a good example of listen.
They sold on Bonanza.
Yeah.
That was what was weird.
This is what I love. We sold these 4 drinking edge glasses, and they're specifically from the Houston Rodeo.
In like the 80s, right?
Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. And I only knew to get these because I was born and raised in Houston, and that's what we would do. When I was a kid, we would go to the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo.
I wonder if you went to that one. It was 1984.
Probably one of the biggest in the country, and it's gigantic with like horses. And I remember we would go there, and I'd be like, "See you guys," and I'd just go walk off on my own, and I would go get a bag of $5 beef jerky. And I just walk around eating beef jerky and looking at the horses. And anyway, it's these 4 sold for $40, so $10 each.
Yep, those were very cool. That was a cool find. We sold a pot rack. It was like a steel pot rack that you put in a kitchen. You hang it up. It looks all cool. I think we had bought it at one point just to use it in one of our houses, and we didn't end up using it, and it sold for $125, which is awesome.
We sold a cool little eyeball lamp.
Yeah.
And when I say eyeball, not an actual eyeball, but, it's that thing where it's, like a round...
It's like an
orb with a light in it, and that you can twist and turn.
And it's got a stand.
And it goes on a desk. That, again, it's like totally 80s.
It was bright brass.
And someone bought it for $85.
Yeah, we did a best offer. I think I showed it in the last video. Okay, so this is a funny sale. We found this, so we sleep with those, white noise machines. I do, anyway. I have to have one on.
I'm there, too, so...
I know, but I don't know if you necessarily need one. But at this point, I'm like, I can't... It's too quiet to sleep, so anyway, whenever I see those, I get them, and this one was like an electronic one or an electric one, where it's got noises like a waterfall, like it's got little buttons,
rainforest,
and stuff. And I think it's one of those things that they give away for free, and it's got like a name of a prescription drug on the side. Like someone probably just gave it away for free, but we sold it for $30.
Yep,
that's kind of amazing.
Now, to be clear, I can only sleep with it's not the electronic ones. I need to have the ones...
It's like a fan.
Right.
Basically.
It's like a fan, and it can't be like, a noise of a jungle or waves. It can't be... It just needs to be pure...
White noise.
It's mechanical white noise.
Yep.
Like, if we try to do the white noise on the phone, and we use that when we're, out of the house. When we're traveling,
yeah.
It's not so good.
It's not the same.
Me,
yeah. I do use that when we're traveling, and it works for me.
We sold, and we only bring this up because, again, I know people like to get coffee mugs, and people talk about them. They're like, you got to sell coffee mugs. And then people say, I bought some. They're not selling. Because, and I don't know exactly why, it's hard to tell people, but what we find is you got to find ones that have good as logos on them. So I bought 2 that had Harvard School of Government.
Yeah.
And, we got them essentially free, and we sold each one for $25.
Yep. And I think it was because people were buying them for graduation because they're about to graduate. So Like, someone emailed me and was like, I need this by Saturday, and it was Wednesday.
And,
So,
I mean, I'm sure we're like a lot of you guys, there'll be places that just have a box of them or just like racks of them. And Ryan will be like, is this any good? It has a logo on it. But you just have to think, like, is that a logo people are going to look for?
Like, is that something that they think is cool?
Like, or is that college one that you think people are interested in?
Is it in good shape? It's not chipped. It's clean.
So it's tough. It's a tough thing.
It's like trucker hats.
It's just like trucker
the same
hats.
thing.
Yeah.
You're like, basically, I base it on, do I think it's cool?
Right.
Like Harvard School of Government, I'm from Boston, so I'm like, yeah, that's a thing. People go there. People want this. Anything Harvard, of course. Right. And I just see certain hats and I think, who would wear that? Okay, I think someone would wear that. Let's get it.
Right. So this is last thing we'll talk about is it was a kitchen magnet.
Yes.
That had like a little plastic front on it.
Right.
And it said Kelly on it.
It said Kelly's Kitchen.
Kelly's Kitchen.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that was in the bottom of a box lot. And, back when we first started going to auctions buying box lots, I mean, I was ready to just throw away the stuff at the bottom. Like, I'm selling this stuff I bought the box for. This other stuff is junk. And Ryan was like, well, let's just sell everything.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those things that sold for $15.
It's like
for a
1980s kitchen magnet.
But
Kelly's Kitchen.
Just like with the mugs and the hats, I mean, someone was searching for the name Kelly. And probably it's a really cool little gift that they're going to give somebody.
Yeah, like a cool vintage.
Kitschy little thing.
Totally. So that was a funny sale. Okay,
customer issues. We had some customer issues, but we were victorious.
Yes, so somebody said now this, we've heard about this from other people. I shipped a poster in one of those triangular USPS boxes. I've never had a problem with those, never. And I've shipped a bunch of posters. And this woman said, this poster got here smashed, the box was smashed. So we said...
And the poster was damaged.
The poster had been damaged. So we said, okay, great, send us a photo of the package that's damaged, because if you're going to claim insurance, USPS is going to ask for that, and the damage of the poster. She wouldn't send us pictures of the box, and she sent pictures of the poster, and we couldn't see any damage. I mean, she said that it's really hard to see, but there are parts where it's a little crinkled, but we couldn't see it. We couldn't see it at all.
And so,
Jay put his foot down.
Well, I mean, this is just, if I feel like, I said, okay, send it back for a full refund. We'll pay to have it shipped back. We'll pay for everything.
Yeah.
We'll make you whole. And she's like, well, I was just thinking, why don't you just give me a refund? But I just feel like it was more she's fishing for a refund. Yeah. And eBay will back you up on this. I was like, no, send it back, full refund.
Yeah.
Period.
We had already given her a discount on the price. Obviously it wasn't damaged, but...
and I knew I could get it back and sell it for more than what we sold it to her for. We gave her a good deal on it.
Right.
We're just trying to move it. And so she didn't say anything. And that night she gave us negative feedback.
Yes. So she gave us negative feedback. And here's the deal. The beautiful thing about this was, the first thing she said in her negative feedback was, shipping took forever. That's great for me because I had my handling time correct and I can get that removed.
Your voice.
No, because what's so funny is you're like, that wasn't her issue.
Right.
Her only issue is that it was damaged.
Right.
Or she's saying it was damaged. But so she said shipping was slow. So I called eBay and I got it removed.
Yep.
Case closed.
Yep.
We also got another negative from someone that said shipping took forever. And I also got that one removed at the same time because I'm like, we messaged you, the handling time was there. She didn't message us about having an issue.
So that's it. So that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. When you travel, if you want to keep your store open, you can't just do the it's vacation thing. You have to change your handling time because then if anyone complains, eBay will immediately remove any negative feedback because. They bought it. It's knowing it was going to take a certain amount of time.
It says it on the listing, and I messaged them. So eBay took both of those into account and remove both of them.
So, I mean, I don't feel bad about the poster, it's woman, because, if she was unhappy, I was totally willing to just take it back, give her all of her money. She would not lose a dime, but she chose not to do that.
Right.
And, and she seemed unhelpful in trying to help us prove that it was actually damaging shipping, because the evidence she gave us, we could not have claimed insurance from the post office. So she was putting us in a very weird spot.
Right.
And so that's why sometimes just full refunds is the best answer.
Yeah.
Okay. So a little bit of news, just links that either people send us or I see around. I saw this article about this kid up in Maine. He's like a teenager.
Yeah.
And we talk about this, about vintage computers.
People collect them.
He actually has created this Apple. He's gotten every Apple ever made.
So he has a museum in his basement, essentially.
And he's actually going to, I think he's trying to donate them to a school to put them up. But,
Right.
But it's a good example of these things are happening now. I mean, computers are becoming collectible.
Right, because, some of the first computers from the late 70s, personal size computers, are worth a lot of money because there aren't very many of them.
Right. And I don't even know if they have to work.
Right.
It's necessarily or not, but it's something to look out for.
I think it's good to keep an eye. I mean, we've been selling vintage software, random vintage software pretty well, so...
Something I just noticed about eBay, the eBay app just updated again in the past week or two.
Yeah.
Or at least it did on the iPhone, where they it redid the interface of the eBay app. There it is, talking to us.
Yeah.
And and it showed, and it kind of has everything in other places again. And they do this every couple of years.
When you launched it, were you like, I don't even know what I'm looking at?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like everything's there, but it's in a different place, and now you just have to click around. So, I don't know. It was working weird for a while, and some people were complaining that the eBay.com was acting weird. And I just think this just happens every quarter, every half a year. They're tinkering with stuff, and it's probably like they're trying to keep the site going while they're changing stuff. So.
I think that's true. Like, a lot of people saw like a new listing page. I've seen the new listing page for a while now, so I don't know if they're just rolling it out incrementally. I think that's probably what's happening. I really like the new listing page.
How is it any... It's different.
I don't even know how to explain it. It's less clunky. It's cleaner. You can upload photos while you're entering information on the page. Before, it was like either in a pop-up window or it was like on the page and like you had to just wait for them to upload. It was ridiculous. But now it's a lot faster. I find does
it feel cleaner?
What would happen too is you would put everything on one page and then you press continue, and then there'd be this second useless page of information that you're like, okay, list it. Like, why? I don't even know why I'm on the second page. And now it's just one page. You're just like, submit. Okay, so something we learned in the comments, well, it wasn't a comment, it was an email. Karen sent us a photo of an item for sale at a yard sale, and it was one of those County of Boston face cream jars that are very rare to find. I have three of them. I've sold 2 of them recently. And I'm pretty sure they looked up their price on eBay because they priced it at $176. And she was laughing because she sent me a photo with the, price tag on it. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure they looked up my sold listing and found that.
Because we sold both of ours for what, $175 and $199? Yeah,
$175 and $199. So they found one of those and priced it that high. So it makes me feel bad that like my sold listings are dictating the price of things for other scavengers.
But again, keep this in mind, because we're going to get a call that we're going to play on the podcast where someone asks about what happens when everyone is just looking up everything. Is that going to change the game? Right. I mean, personally, I don't think these people are.
They're not going to sell.
And no one in person is going to pay that much in that little neighborhood.
Well, and the other thing too is I had 3 on eBay. It's taken me like 2 years to sell 2 of them on eBay. Yep. So it's like, if you think you're going to get that much at a yard sale, you're sadly mistaken.
And then on our other favorite blog, garbagefinds.com, with Martin from Montreal.
We love Martin.
He's great. You know, he basically is now full-time. He sells full-time on eBay and Etsy and
It's
like
awesome.
Craigslist like thing and up there. And he's just such great little blog posts. He finds everything in the garbage.
For
he walks
free.
around. And he did this great post called The Magic of Garbage, where like him and his friend went to brunch, and like they're finishing brunch and they're walking away, and he sees a pile of trash and he goes into it and he finds bags of coins, you know, like
Just like bags.
yeah,
and
I mean
bags
some of it's
coins.
older, some of it's contemporary, and he's like, I just found enough money in the garbage to pay for the food that breakfast was served. I
Oh
mean,
my god!
and it really is like that, having that kind of, you know, having those eyes, and it's just so
That's
strange.
a great post. Okay, so Bill sent us a photo of a trophy that he found. It was at an auction, right?
Yep.
Of a miner, you know, like someone
A
panning
gold
for
miner.
gold.
Right.
Yeah.
And he just said, and he emailed this to us. It's with the story, because he said he thought of us when he bought it, because he said if no one wanted to buy this thing, he bought it for $5, but he knew based on what we've talked about that someone would want this thing, and he took it home and he enlisted it. I think he put it up for $70 or $90.
Yeah.
And he said it took, I want to say, a year and a half, and finally someone gave him an offer on it, and he
Right.
sold it.
Right.
But he just said, like, that's, you know, again, that's good evidence that interesting, weird things like that, they will sell.
Yeah,
to the right
because
person.
somebody out there is like quirky enough, and they're looking for weird things like that.
And you know, he sent a photo of it. I would have bought that too.
Oh, absolutely!
So awesome.
Yeah,
and
it was
cool.
really cool. It was like copper colored.
Yeah.
It was really cool. Okay, what does our coming week look like, Jay? You have a nice long list.
So I just
here.
made a list of everything I need to take pictures of and write info about.
Okay, are you going to read it all right now?
Can I read some of it?
Read as much as you want.
Okay, so this is our death piles. I did a full inventory of it. I have 4 boxes of random stuff that we just bought over the past couple weeks.
4 boxes.
Yeah, I mean, 4 bins, you know.
Yeah.
So 2 bins of these vintage pens and markers that we bought, like stationery stuff.
Yeah.
Like
Oh my god.
some of the first highlighters we had.
first markers.
Right. So, and I think that they'll sell.
I think so too.
We have boxes of art that we still need to sell.
Yes.
It's 4 boxes of fabric that I have to go through and measure and take pictures of.
Fun.
Box of ties, box of scarves, box of belts, 2 bins of purses. I mean, we've had these things for years.
Jesus.
It's like, I don't want to touch them yet, but they're still there.
Yeah.
We have a big bin of posters
Yeah.
that we found. Bin of ephemera. I mean, that's going to be a monster.
Where's the bin of ephemera? I thought we went through all the ephemera.
I got another one.
Oh god.
And you know, and that's tough because it's
Oh my
it's a big
God.
bin, and it's just like all these little scraps of like matches and papers and
And you know what is crazy? That stuff sells,
Right.
and that's why it's hard to not sell that
like
stuff.
old cookbooks and things from county seats and
Yeah.
okay, I've got might be now 3 bins of men's shoes, 2 bins of women's shoes. We have 4, and probably more, but I'll just say 4 huge piles of clothes, jackets, shirts, pants.
Yeah.
And then we have a table full of like smalls. Perfume, eyeglasses, stamps, playing cards, necklaces,
Jewelry, bracelets. That's like all my stuff. Oh my god, there's so much stuff in there.
But-
It's ridiculous.
Okay, I know it seems overwhelming, but it's good to just lay that all on the table. We want to get this stuff done before we leave again in September.
Next time.
Yep.
Yeah. That's gonna be nice
Yep.
try.
And as you started to...
I started to list. Thank God.
Which is great.
My computer died before we left, so I had to like redo my computer and get it up and working, and that was a pain. But finally, I was able to actually list on my own computer. So that was very good. That made me feel better.
And it really... this week was a great week. Like,
Yeah.
it felt good to be home.
Yeah.
to get back into our rhythm of waking up when we just want to wake up,
eating our
cooking our own
regular food,
being able just to like sit here and take photos and
run our farmhouse ourselves, which has been good.
Have our cats running around.
Yeah. Okay, so let's answer some questions and listen to some comments on the voicemail line. You can always call us at any time of the day, and certainly people do call at any time of the day because I see the timestamps and I'm like, someone's up early. The phone number is 540-407-8486.
Hey, Jay and Ryan, this is Justin. Watch or listen to podcasts regularly, post sporadically because of my day job. Just wanted to call in and pass on some information for fellow scavengers for finding free shipping supplies. I live in a rural community, just like you guys, so we don't have curbside recycling. However, we have community recycling bins, normally at a township office or some kind of governmental building, and they're closed up, and all the supplies are really nice. I normally stop there every week and recycle our stuff too because we're a little on the green side ourselves. And then while I'm there, I usually gander inside, find a lot of small boxes that I can use for first class shipping for free. Also, old people in our community still read newspapers, so I get tons of newspapers for packing and then using them in the wood burner in the winter. And then also plenty of poly mailers, air jackets, and other kinds of wrapping supplies from when they've ordered other things online. And it's amazing. People will just neatly fold them all up and put them in a giant box, and sometimes I also take the giant box. So anyway, hopefully that helps, and catch you guys later. Thanks. Bye.
Yes, that is awesome. When we go to our recycling center, you can often find me or Jay jumping into the big newspaper bin, which actually has a nice door on it, so you can just walk right into it, and grabbing boxes. I'm usually looking for big boxes because it's hard for me to find good big boxes for weird large-shaped items.
I mean, we did that, I don't know, maybe 4 months ago. There are these big shipping containers where people throw in all their paper.
Yeah, paper recycling.
And we saw that there are these big boxes that I guess it was like a local refrigerator company had used. Or
yeah, it was
filters.
like a air filter or water filter thing. And the box, this is such a great size, you guys will know. 16.5 by 16.5 by 26 tall.
And it was like double.
No, it's not double thick.
Okay, but it was.
But there were like 100 of them.
Right.
I mean, there was a stack like 4 feet tall.
Yeah.
We took all of them.
Yep.
We're like, these are amazing.
And we're still.
I use them all the time.
Using them.
And a lot of times, like, if something, is a weird shape, I'll cut that thing up as like raw cardboard and like make a box out of it.
It's unfortunate where we are, they don't really let people dig in the trash and get it. So it has to be a little bit kind of like quietly, like it's like you're throwing stuff in there and then you're grabbing stuff really quickly and throwing it in at your truck before they can harass you. It's too bad too, because I've seen stuff that people are throwing away. I mean, I have this dream where instead of people they pull their trucks up or their cars and then they just throw stuff in these big containers,
shipping containers, essentially,
and then they just get dumped into a big hole. I imagine people would like pull into a big warehouse, unload at like this table,
like
and
what's
then
valuable.
It would move along, and then people would be pulling the valuable stuff.
Right.
Because there's still stuff that like people could use.
Yeah, all the time.
The county could sell it at like a big yard sale every weekend.
I mean, and we're not talking about like stuff filled with garbage juice. I mean, It's like a perfectly good chair. Someone just like throws it out of their truck into the dumpster, and you're like, "Whoa, that."
So it is too bad, but it's just how it is.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay and Ryan, this is Gary. Called in a bunch of times. Just a quick question. I called in once before and asked a question that Jay said was his favorite question. How long is this going to last for us? This flipping game. And your guys' answer was there's so much stuff in America that it's going to last probably our lifetimes. My kind of point to that question was that I know there's so much stuff in this country. It's amazing. it's almost unbelievable how much everybody has. But my question more was, how long is it going to be before everybody starts selling stuff online? Or even worse, starts looking everything up on eBay sold, and on Amazon, and there are all these other, Bonanza and Etsy and whatever, to where finding a deal, it's just not going to be worth your time. That's the thing that scares me most, because so many times when I go to buy something, someone's either pulling out their phone, or the first words out of their mouth are, well, on eBay it goes for this, or on Amazon it goes for that, and they don't want to work much on the price. So I'm just wondering your thoughts on that, because that's my biggest concern. Not that we'll run out of stuff to sell, but that so many people will either start selling online, which seems like there's so many more every single day, or that people just look online for the sold prices and you can't get a deal to make it worth your while anymore. Thanks, guys.
Okay, Jay, what do you think?
Okay, so I was talking earlier about this comment by Gary.
Yes.
And it is, I think it's a little bit, I used to have this a worry when we first started. Like,
and
how
for a
long,
while.
How long can it just last? And I've come out the other side where
okay,
I don't really have that a worry anymore. It is true that, scavenging and selling online is evolving, because it is true that more and more people are realizing you can research stuff.
Right.
People at yard sales, like we talked about, will research something, and they'll even print out the eBay thing
yeah.
to show you how much it's worth. Here's the deal, though, and this is my point. There is still so much stuff in this country that even if you put high prices on it, doesn't mean people are going to get that price.
Right.
If people are not patient, they're going to have to get forced to sell it cheap.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like I was just saying about that little jar that someone had at a yard sale. It took me 2 years to sell 2 of those at a decent price that I thought it was worth.
Who has that kind of patience? Even Goodwill, we all talk about, Goodwills are becoming more and more like TJ Maxx, like a retail store.
Yeah.
Where prices get higher and higher. But even there, they can only hold on to stuff for so long, because there's this push from behind of more stuff needing to get put in. So even those places have color tag sales, blue tags are 50% off now. Because,
listen,
Go.
We live in a town of 5,000 people. Our entire county is 25,000 people. There's one thrift store, essentially. It's a charity shop thrift store. They cannot keep up with the amount of donations they have. They cannot keep up. Right. There's so many donations. You're I live in this tiny rural town, and they're just every weekend that there's a yard sale, they're just crushed with donations.
So I think that's why I don't get a worry, because I have now experienced, and I really feel like I know in my bones that there's still, anytime that you see a store of stuff, there is just a push from behind in the back door of stuff wanting to burst in.
Yeah.
Now, what Omfug or Sue says in Washington State, she has said that, she's noticed that her thrift stores are pulling the really good stuff and selling that online. I see that happening too.
Yeah, we see that too.
Where thrifters are getting smart, and they know that they can't get the prices that they want just in the store. They need to sell it online. Stuff like that could be happening. We've seen that in our area, where some of the auctions that were really cool, where you go in person and buy, they're now going all online too.
Only online.
So stuff like that's happening. But again, it's evolving. But I think that there's still going to always be too much stuff, at least for a generation.
Yep.
Market.
Yeah, I agree. I think so, for sure.
Hi, Scavengers. I called you a while back about a neutral feedback and getting the buyer to change the feedback if I issued a refund. Well, what happened was I finally found a button on eBay that you can click, and you send it to the buyer, and it is a request for a feedback revision. I'm not sure where I found it, but I Googled and it came up. So I sent the buyer a request for feedback revision because I had refunded her money. She wasn't satisfied with the size of a cap. And anyway, she got that button, I guess, or that, whatever steps that took, and she actually, changed the feedback. It went from neutral to a good feedback. She just said thank you and gave me a green. And so that worked out perfectly. And there was no, any other problems with it, and the neutral feedback was gone. And so that worked out well. I have another question for you, today though. And that's playing cards. I know that we've talked a lot about playing cards, and you guys talk about old playing cards and the value of them, and that there's a whole community of playing cards collectors. But I've gotten a lot of different playing cards, and I really am wondering, what do you look for when you look for, like, playing cards? I know you're going to probably look for some kind of vintage playing cards, but I'm just wondering, because I bought some playing cards and they just don't seem to be moving. Nobody seems to want them. I've got playing cards of cities, playing cards of celebrities, playing cards of all different topics, but none of them seem to really interest anybody. So I'm just wondering if you have any insight into what is the deal with selling playing cards for lots of money. Anyway, Scavengers, thanks so much for your podcast and your blog. I love everything you guys are doing. Have a great day. Bye.
So I love to hear that you got that neutral feedback change. That's awesome. Good job. That was a very good way of going about it, that they did the feedback revision. That's amazing. Very good. And the thing about playing cards, now, I mean, when I'm shopping for playing cards, I'm just looking at things that are weird and vintage. Like, I'm not looking for just, like, regular bicycle playing cards, unless they look old. You know, I'm looking for vintage and I'm looking for weird. And that's it. Like, do they look interesting? Do they look like they're from the 50s? Do they look older than that?
And, you know, it's like we've said, too, if you just sit down at your computer and do some Google searches like, you know, valuable playing cards.
Right.
There are sites and blogs and
because they're collectors,
where people talk about this stuff, and you can just start to identify there are certain titles, like names of cards, like brands.
And also, like, something that I look for, too, is back in the day, like, I think it probably stopped in the 60s, but before that, playing cards were taxed, and I think they were taxed because they were considered gambling. So there was a little tax stamp on it. And a lot of times that tax stamp has never been broken because they've never been opened.
It's like a postage stamp.
It looks like a postage stamp,
right,
but it's a tax stamp. And sometimes you can identify the date based on that stamp. So something that I've done research on, because there's a couple sites that show you, like, this is from, you know, the 1930s if it's got this on the stamp. So that's a good way of, like, being able to know these are definitely vintage because they have a tax stamp on them. I mean, now you're not getting taxed on those, so, except sales tax. Okay, that's it for the voicemails. And that's it for the podcast. You can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com for all the links we discuss and to join the conversation. You can leave a question or a comment on something you heard. The voicemail line is 540-407-8486. We post an episode every Monday morning. On Wednesday, we post our What Sells video, so we show what we sold and how much we sold it for. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or YouTube, so you get the latest episode. You can listen to our other podcast about our Airbnb business if you're interested in that, and that's at shampooandbooze.com. And we're ending this podcast in 3, 2, 1.
Goodbye.